everyone, and welcome to this vivacious episode of BTW Bellabeat Talks Wellness podcast episode. Today we have a very incredible guest with us, Dr. V. Here she is. She is a board-certified OBGYN physician and also a board-certified lifestyle medicine physician. And if she looks or sounds familiar, that could be because you know her from her famous podcast series, Office Visits with Dr. V.
Yeah.
So Dr. V, welcome. Hi.
Hey Mel, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be with you today.
That's awesome. It's good to have you, and thank you so much for being with us. Just to start us off, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and just let them know a little bit about you?
Yeah. So Benita Varnado is my name, and I go by Dr. V because people can't say Varnado. And I'm a gynecologist, so it seems to work. I'm a board certified OBGYN. I practiced for about 20 years before I left full-time private practice to pursue lifestyle medicine. And I still do OBGYN, but I really feel like patients are needing and asking for direction in how to live a happy and healthy life. And prior to my departure, I started a podcast because I wanted to educate my patients about just the basic OBGYN stuff. And they loved it. And it became a thing that I thought could help just more than my patients. And so now I'm a podcaster. I'll be starting a lifestyle medicine practice in a few months. So I'm really excited to be in this space.
Well, congratulations on being able to start something in the lifestyle medicine space. And when we say lifestyle medicine, what exactly, just so we can familiarize everybody with it and there's no confusion, what exactly is lifestyle medicine?
Great question. And I tell it to everybody who will listen. Traditional medicine right now is a pill for every ill. So pills work if you have a problem. But lifestyle medicine looks at using your lifestyle to be the pill. So if you're really tired, what are you eating? How much are you sleeping? Are you stressed? Are you having fun? Do you feel fulfilled? The pillars of lifestyle medicine are nutrition, exercise, stress management, sleep, avoiding risky substances, healthy relationships. And I, Dr. V, put in a +1, which is happiness. And that just goes to having meaning in your life, feeling accomplished, feeling like you have a purpose. And so usually once you work on those things, you probably can manage about 80% of chronic diseases you can manage with your lifestyle. Incredible.
And I think that's really incredible. It is, especially, you know, we're in the US and everything has a prescription. You know, every ailment has a prescription that goes with it. And a lot of times we just kind of skip over the whole lifestyle thing. And I don't really personally understand where that comes from. Like, why are people so putting to, you know, just changing just changing. I know it's not just changing, but, you know, focusing on what they eat and working out and
Mel.
stuff. I mean, from your
Mel. Mel, let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. It's hard. That's it. It's hard. It's much easier to drive through. You're tired. You've had a long day at work. Go through the drive-through. They've already cooked the food for you, right? It's much harder to go to the grocery store, plan what you're going to eat, prep it, you know, it's harder. It's hard work. And yes, we're in America. And in America, we traditionally don't live lives that are open to a healthier lifestyle. You know, we don't, we overwork, we work long hours. Everybody's sitting in a car. They don't walk or ride to work. Everybody's overscheduled. We've got a million things to do, and it doesn't lend itself to health and wellness. And people see that when they come to our country. They tell us who we are. Would we love to have a siesta, you know, a 2-hour break in the middle of the day? That would be great. There are some cultures that do that. Wouldn't it be great, you know, maternity leave to have a year? Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be incredible.
Yeah. So they're just things that are built into our culture that work against it. And then now we're in this age of you push a button and you get things, people want things fast. And as a physician, I've tried to encourage patients to try the lifestyle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but behavior change takes longer. It just does. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with using a pill until. So,
Uh-huh.
okay, you have high blood pressure. You haven't quite gotten to walking every day or making your food at home or reducing eating out. Let's use a pill until you get those habits in place, and then we can start to decrease the dosage.
Yeah. Yeah. And so whenever it does come to lifestyle changes, when you're meeting with people and they're like, I'm just overworked, I'm under stress, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What would, what's your advice for some of those first like couple of easy steps for somebody to take to make those lifestyle sort of changes? I know what we say at
So,
Bellabeat, but
I always like to say the 12 steps. AA is a program that has a decades long history of being effective. And the first step is admitting you have a problem. That's the first step, because it's going to take a mindset shift to do anything regarding your lifestyle. And people can feel they need to change, they know they need to change, but
Yeah.
are not ready for whatever reason. And so I usually say, and that's why, diets and fads don't work, because you kind of focus everything at one time and you really, really haven't made the switch.
Yeah.
And I usually just say, start to notice your environment. How do you feel? When was the last time you talked to your girlfriend, or when was the last time you did anything that wasn't for the kids, and just
Yeah.
start to take
Those food.
notice
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. Exactly. Exactly. So I know that's not like people want to say, well, what can I do? What can I do? Yeah, just start to be honest with yourself. Because what it's going to take, I mean, for me, I'll just share a little bit of my story. I was a burned out physician, loved, loved what I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on call, some nights, and it wasn't all the time, but I'd work all night long and go see patients in the morning at 8:30. Haven't gone to sleep. Then I have two kids. I have a husband, so I don't want to come home and go to sleep. So, and then I've got work to do. And
Yep.
so, what it meant for me to change, and I was a breadwinner of my home.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what it meant for me to walk away was to walk away from a six-figure income. And
Wow.
that's scary, right? Who's prepared to do that? And so what you do in your head is you try to make these little fixes until, you're like, okay, none of that's going to work. I went part-time. So I
Mm-hmm.
worked one half day less a week.
Oh, wow.
But, what I quickly realized, and any of the listeners who've done this, most people know that if you have a salaried position and you go part-time, you still somehow end up doing about the same amount of work, just getting paid less.
Just exactly. Great
And
deal for the company, terrible for you, you
yes,
know?
it sucks for you. They're still getting what they need. And it was funny. I talked with another physician, and she was almost like, "Girl, I could have told you that one." I was like, "Well, you didn't tell me. Why did anybody tell me?" So it's like you have to
Why do
make
you
big moves.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Save me time and,
Yeah,
like, let me keep my salary. Like, yeah, come on.
exactly. It doesn't quite work that way, but that's
Yeah.
usually the biggest hurdle. Is that what I had to realize is the way that I was living then, like sometimes I get emotional when I think about it. It was like, I can't
Yeah.
continue to live this way. And whatever is going to happen is going to happen. That has to be better than how I'm living now. It just has
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
And it has been. And I just
Good.
cannot, yeah. Anyway, I just don't know what I was
Well,
scared of now that I'm on the other side.
I mean, it's understandable. It's just the unknown. You don't know what's over that, like, ledge, if you will. You're just standing there and you're on the very precipice of, a completely different life. And that's terrifying. And that takes a lot of guts to decide, I'm going to do this. So, I mean, amazing and congratulations on taking that leap and doing something different with your life. That's, for your health, for your mental health, physical, spiritual, just your overall wellness. And I think that's really incredible and motivating to other women
Yeah.
that may be in that same position.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for saying
that's
that.
all.
Thank you for saying that.
No,
I
thank you for sharing. That's really
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that um you asked about what are things that people can do to change. What are some of the first things? Um After they realize that they need to make a change. And I will say this, people will make a change. It will either be because they finally got diagnosed with diabetes or hypertension, or they come to the office and they're like, I wait, how much? So you can either get change, you have to change because you have to, or
Mm-hmm.
or you make a decision that I'm just sick and tired of living like this. And so I think the next step is education, as far as, not figuring out what you want to change first. Because
Mm-hmm.
anytime you make a change, trying to jump in and change everything and make a small step, you don't want to make the small step. You want to make the big leaps and bounds. And that's
You
usually
want to
not
do everything
sustainable.
at once. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so usually, I as a physician, what we say in lifestyle medicine is that the patient's in the driver's seat. They're in the
Yeah.
driver's seat. So you're a smoker, that's the worst thing you could do for your health. The worst.
Yeah.
However, if you want to start walking every day, then that's what we're going to start doing.
Yeah.
We're going to work on starting the habit of walking, even though I know you need to quit smoking. So
Yeah.
just figuring out, I usually like to use the framework of the pillars. Usually, which one do you want to make progress in? And then we do what we call a SMART goal, which I don't know if a lot of people have heard SMART goals, but it has to be a specific, measurable, attainable, da 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 goal. And then accountability.
Mm.
Accountability is huge. Like
So
that
huge.
is like the superpower of change.
Yeah.
Getting a partner, telling somebody, hey, this is what I'm doing, allowing somebody to go with you on the journey, to check in
Yeah.
with you.
And
It
that's
makes a
big.
major difference on your success.
Absolutely. And I know whenever it comes to like me setting goals and sharing goals, I'm sometimes hesitant to share goals like with my girlfriends and stuff because I know they're going to want to check in and make sure I'm accountable. So before I share it, I'm like, I need to make dang sure that I am doing this 100% because they will check in with me. But it's nice to have that support, and it's so important to have that support. And just to verbalize the goal is very important as well. So
Yeah,
it's helpful.
yeah.
Mm.
And I love to hear that you have a supportive network. Like, healthy
Yeah,
relationships are like one of the key things to your longevity. Like they've actually studied it, which is another reason I like lifestyle medicine, because we have the studies to back up that, hey, they looked at men who were, this is crazy. They started when they were 19 and they're now in their 80s. And they looked
okay.
at what, now that they're in their 80s, what did the 80-year-olds do? The people who are still alive, what did they do that the people who aren't didn't? And you would
Oh,
think, oh, well, they walked every day, or, their
mhm.
cholesterol levels were this, or they ate this way. And it
Yeah.
was healthy relationships. The people
Hmm.
who had support, who felt like someone cared about them, they actually lived longer. They lived longer. It was healthy relationships. It's a Harvard study. It's on YouTube. Um,
That's really
and
cool.
it isn't that cool. And so when you say that you have people who are going to check in on you, you know,
It's going to help me with my longevity as well. Little do they know.
exactly,
But
they're
honestly,
extending your life.
yeah. But it makes sense because, whenever I wake up and I talk or like I check in with my girls in the morning, we have a few hours between us just in time wise. So I wake up before them and I
Hmm.
say, "Good morning, ladies." And but I feel, when you talked about like having purpose and happiness as well, like I kind of feel like I have purpose because I'm a part of this group of women. There's four of us, but we hold each other accountable and we always, help each other and support each other. And it gives me a little bit of purpose as well. And so
That's
that
wonderful.
maybe could lead to the longevity as well, because I feel like that support and I feel the purpose and a goal or a direction to go with them to say, oh, let's grow and heal together because, we're best friends. So
Wow. Okay, so not to turn the interview on you, but
no.
how did you guys come up with that? Like how did that happen?
What, me and my girlfriends?
Yeah, you and your
Or
girlfriends every morning you're checking in. Is that something you did or
honestly,
it just happened?
it just organically happened. Whenever I moved overseas, I wanted to remain, in not constant contact with my best friends, but I met some of them. One of them I met in elementary, so we've been best friends
Oh
for
wow.
almost 30 years, probably 25 years now or something.
Wow.
And the other
Wow.
two I met in college. And so we've been friends for about 13 years now with those two. But when I moved away, I missed them a lot. And I realized I was just mentally unwell because I didn't have that social connection that I wanted to have. And
Mhm.
so we
Mhm.
downloaded WhatsApp, which is, a texting
Yeah.
platform that you can
Yeah.
use. Use it and we text. And one day, I just remember I was crying because of something, who knows what happened in life. And they video chatted me. And I think this was probably about 6 years ago or so. They video chatted me and was just like, hey, like, let's be better. Let's be closer and, let's just be better for each other because we're best friends. We should do that. So now
Yeah.
we do
Yeah.
that. And it just
Yeah.
stuck. And it feels good. It feels good.
It does.
So,
And your heart
and we
rate
just,
goes down. And you smile and you guys
yeah.
laugh. And I
Oh, yeah. Or
love
like I'll send
that. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, no. You go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say, I just love that you were intentional about it. So I'm feeling this way, and you were intentional about, making, and they were intentional about connecting. But it's not anything like you don't need a prescription for it. It's like it just organically evolves. I love you. I
It
care
just,
about you. I want to be with you. Like you don't have
yeah.
to go like pay for a program. It doesn't cost money.
It's just,
WhatsApp is free. Like,
it's free. Exactly. And not just
yeah.
that, it doesn't cost money, but I'm still, in these relationships, I get so much from them. And it's like, I feel like I'm being paid in energy and dopamine and feel good
Mhm.
emotions and in everything
Mhm.
just because I am, being
Mhm.
social with
Mhm.
them and being intentional with them, as you put it so
Right.
very well. Absolutely.
And we're wired though.
Yeah.
We're wired to be connected. We're wired that
We're
way.
a social creature. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what Bob and the medical system has its place. It's just not
Hmm.
preventive enough for me. It's focused on, the problem, not preventing the problem. Um,
Uh-huh.
but I think if we just would look at life and just be a little simpler about how we're living, um, that it would evolve and it would support our wellness. And that's a wonderful story of something that most people can do today. You can
Yeah.
start a WhatsApp
It could
group
be that
and
first step. It could be, yeah, that first step that they need just to have that lifestyle change that you were talking about and creating those new healthy habits. It's a small step, but small steps count and they get you to where you need to go. So,
they do. They absolutely do. And I have a group that it's a part of, I call it Delivering Destiny because I want people to have a vision for their life and to have purpose and to have meaning. And
mhm.
so we're also in a WhatsApp group, and people are posting when they're exercising and they're doing their healthy habits. And slowly but surely, I promise y'all, it works. Slowly but surely, people start to change because that's what they see, and they see the happiness and
Exactly.
they see the benefit. And
Mhm.
it didn't take a copay to do that. It took people in their lives that they know and love and respect that help foster that desire. So
Yeah. And
I
it's
think this is within
motivating and it's
reach.
absolutely, just drink water and talk to your friends. There we go. That's So, if you're on the phone call at work and your boss is like, get off the phone, you can be like, I'm so sorry, boss, but this is for my health. Like, I have to talk to these people. Like, this is wellness.
This is wellness.
But
This
it
is a
is.
mental health break.
But it
It is.
is. So,
It
and
is.
that's actually something, and that's something I just love about, just the sphere of wellness. I know especially today, it gets sometimes a bad rep. A lot of people, take advantage of the wellness sphere and maybe go a little bit too far in one direction and forget the other pillars of wellness. But this, it's all about balance, and part of that balance is social wellness, and having that love and that support if where you can find it, if you can, and so that's very important.
If you can. And yeah, if you can. And sometimes, sometimes you might have to step out of your comfort zone for those people who, maybe don't have that. Maybe it's finding a group and researching. I know I
Mm-hmm.
ran it's been 2 years now, but I ran a half marathon. I didn't run it. Let me be
Oh,
honest. I walked and I
but you
ran.
finished it. You
I
finished it.
finished. It took over
That's
three
all that matters.
hours, but
Who cares? No one is
who
counting.
cares? I finished. But
That's all
yeah,
that
I
matters.
mean, the running groups. I mean, I didn't know these people. They were some of the happiest people, and they just take you in, and it's like you can find community. And I really feel
Mm-hmm.
post COVID, I feel like the world is looking for balance. They're looking for meaning, and you're
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing communities pop up now that I don't think that we would have seen prior to the world shutting down and having to be still, having to stay at
I
home and be
completely agree with.
quiet.
Yep. And being with yourself and with those people in your immediate vicinity, it was an eye opener. And actually, whenever you look at like or Gen Z, if you will, a lot of them are moving to communities together, and they're not buying a house, but they're buying a plot of land, and they're all camping on it, and they're creating their own like selected communities. And it's really interesting because that definitely, I don't think that would have happened pre-COVID, like had that not happened, but it's like it just sparked something in a lot of us that we were like, I need to connect with people. I need to touch somebody. I need to see somebody and like
Yeah.
experience something with other people and grow together. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And I
cool.
think the other thing that COVID taught us, and it taught me because that's when I decided, forget this, I was at home with my family more. I got finished at the office sooner because we shortened our hours. Life is short. Life is
Yeah.
short. I mean, people were dying, and everybody's like, if I go to the grocery store, I might catch it and die. And it's like, if you haven't done it by now, you better get to doing it. And
Yeah.
I was at a workshop, and they were talking about a woman who, she was like a hospice nurse, which hospice is, where people, are at the end stages of life due to probably some terminal illness.
Right.
And she said what people talked about on their deathbed, it wasn't what a great life they had, even if they had a great life. They talked about
Uh-huh.
the things that they regretted, that they didn't
Oh,
do, that they didn't
it's
do.
yeah.
And I think there's a sense of now that life is more than going to work, than doing a 9 to 5, coming home,
Yep.
watching Netflix and eating in front of the
Mhm.
TV. I think we now know that life is more than that. And so I'm really in that space of trying to help people figure out, why are you here? What's your purpose? Because when you are fulfilled,
Mhm.
this is what I noticed, and this is why I think I really believe it's within reach, because the minute I got on
Mhm.
purpose and stepped away, I started eating better. I started exercising regularly. Like,
Yeah.
I do Pilates 3 days a week, and I train for my races.
Pilates queen. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. So and I was happier, and I was cooking more. And I noticed in other people who did the same thing, life got healthier. like just by
Yeah.
design, because we were not as stressed anymore, and said, to your spirit always knows, right? Your spirit always knows when
Oh,
you're like veering off track.
yeah.
And it's like once you start getting on the right track again, it's just like the doors of health and wellness and happiness seem to just open up to you.
And everything just falls into place, it seems to
It
me,
does.
just personally, but it does. And
So
I
see,
think
it
that's really
happened to
awesome.
you too. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Sorry.
no, 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 no. I was just gonna say I love that you're sparking this interest and purpose in people because I feel, I mean, personally from my own like perspective, sometimes I'm overwhelmed with the amount of people on earth and I think I don't matter, like it doesn't in the grand scheme of things, like I'm not some inventor or, someone that's just outrageously special. But that's okay, because I don't need to be. But just finding purpose, though, in such a busy, almost hectic world can feel overwhelming. Um, so let's go back to like first steps. Like what do we do to find purpose? Like I know for me personally, I look at my hobbies and I see what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just try to do the things in the realm of what I love. But that works for me. I don't know if that's the same for everybody. If that's the same approach that you have.
Yeah.
What's your approach to this?
So I think there are a few things, and this episode doesn't have to be 3 hours, but I could make it 3 hours talking about this. But everybody has a gift, right? Like, so
Mhm.
I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but whatever you believe in, like, you weren't just dropped on earth. Like, you have a purpose and you come with gifts. And so the first thing I like for people to do is to figure out what that is. And usually it's your gift because you do it without thinking. And people are looking at you like, how do you do that? Like
Yeah.
one of my gifts is I just talk to people very easily. I say I can
Mhm.
talk to a wall. And you can go in a room, and by the time you leave the room, you know everybody, or you've got 10
Yeah.
numbers, and you're connecting. And there are things that you do that people see that are your gifts,
Mhm.
but you don't know it's your gift because you just do it. You do it
And
naturally.
it's so natural. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's just how you operate, And so asking people, kind of trying to get some insight on those things. And,
Mhm.
and sometimes you already know what that may be. The other thing is if you're fortunate to have your family members in your life or your parents still alive, there are things that you did as a kid that were your gifts, that were your superpower, that you knew, like they just know, oh my gosh, she was painting at 3. You always love to do dot, 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 dot. And when you
Mhm.
figure those things out, or when you start to see, you'll see bits of it, hopefully, that are present in your adult life. But finding out what your gifts are, and then listening to, like, they always say, what would you do for free? um and I think that's not bad advice, but I think sometimes people are working so hard, you know it's hard to figure that out. So once
Yeah.
again, I think knowing what your gifts are is a clue to what you're here to do as far as your purpose.
Absolutely. And I think even, just searching for purpose through self-discovery and growth and healing and, connecting with other people, that could be a purpose within itself, just seeking out to understand yourself better, and how you can better yourself or the world around you, the immediate world around you. And that can be
Come
purpose.
on,
So
Mel.
it
Come
can
on,
be,
Mel.
it can be,
I do you feel like, and I don't know if I'm gonna get canceled or if y'all gonna shut the episode down, but I feel like the world is going crazy. I'm like, some of the stuff that's happening now, I'm like, this is crazy.
it can't be
And
real. It
it
can't be
can't,
real.
I know.
We're
I
on the
mean,
Truman
especially
Show. Like it's
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it feels like. Exactly. Like somebody, this is an experiment, and something's like going wrong.
oh,
I mean,
yeah.
especially, gosh, we're in May. I mean, it seems like there's been a mass shooting, like 2 or 3 times a
Yes.
week in America.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I just feel like, and this is a bold statement, I feel like we have
Mhm.
a world full of people or a country full of people who are not on purpose. Like somebody's
Mm.
purpose is to feed into to people who feel bullied and to support
Mm.
them. And somebody needs to be a teacher helping young kids do XYZ. Like I feel like people are out of place. Like God made you for a
Yeah.
purpose and you're not doing that. And because we're not doing that, the homeostasis is off. Because you're over
Yep,
here
exactly.
trying to do X and you should be over here you're created to do Z. And
Yeah.
everybody's out of position.
And everyone's out of position, absolutely. And it's, it could just take one conversation or one, simple favor or simple, kind of act of kindness that could switch somebody onto, their path to Z instead of X. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
ugh, but I empath I mean, I completely agree. I do feel like, sometimes when I watch the news, I try not to do it too much just because my mental health can't take it so much
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But it's hard and I look and I watch it and I'm like, "Well, what like what happened? WTF, what happened?" But I don't we could talk about that for 8 hours, 10 hours. We could get into everything with that as
We
well.
could.
I mean,
We could. I
but
just again I don't and through the past few years I have learned that if you make the request it will show up. Like if you want
mhm.
to know what your purpose is, you want to know what your gift, it will come to you. I can't I'm a
I agree
physician,
with
scientist. I don't have a formula, y'all. Like I'm just telling you, trust me. Once you start to seek, you will find. Once you seek, you will
absolutely.
find. And so I think we make life harder than it has to be. I don't think it's as beautiful and fruitful as it could be. We
Yeah,
need more happier people in the world. Um,
yeah,
it's crazy because I'm a doctor, right? I'm an
yeah. Oh,
OBGYN and anytime I
yeah,
like delve into these spaces, they're not many of us there, but I think this is the way people are ultimately going to heal.
yeah,
I honestly believe it. And I don't think it's
absolutely.
out of reach because a lot
Mm-mm.
of these things now, medications are expensive. These programs are expensive, retreats and coaches and all of those things. And I don't think it takes all of that to be happy. And y'all can challenge me. I'm sure y'all have where to find me, but I really think it's available to everyone. I really
Mhm.
do. I don't think it's only for those who can afford it. I really
Yeah,
don't. I really don't. And I think if we get that it's available to me and I want it and I can have it, that it will show up. But again, you have to
that
be
is
intentional.
yeah, I agree, and it's gonna show up in its own way, and it's rarely has
Hmm.
anything ever shown up to me in a way that I thought it was going to or the way I wanted it to, but it
Come
always
on.
showed up in a way that was better than what I had, like, planned for myself,
Come
and
on, ma'am.
so, yeah, I mean, it's just
Preach.
it but it's true. There's a lot of like there aren't a lot of physicians in that realm that say like be intentional and go for seek happiness and seek inside of yourself that happiness, but do these things that make you happy because you will be healthier. Um,
Yeah.
and I imagine that feels somewhat lonely as well, just because you're living proof that this works, and you're coming at it from personal and professional side. And just to be like, no, this works, this works, this works. And other people be like, take this pill and, pay us that $20,000 hospital bill for this and, see you never. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's because people can all comparison, right? Well,
Mhm.
you're Dr. V and you're dot dot dot. We always compare ourselves to other people and have a reason why it won't work for us.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but that's the trick. That's the Jedi mind trick, to think that, male can do it, but I can't,
Mhm.
I can't tell you, like, when I was thinking about when I was burned out, I'm like, but what else can I do? I'm like, I'm a whole doctor. Like, I'm smart. Like, I'm likable. Like, I'm like, I know how to do other things, but I did not think I could do anything else but see patients, deliver babies, do
Wow.
surgery. Like, that's what I thought. That's what I
That's
thought. And I love
that's
when
so
you say it shows up how you don't expect it and it's going to be better. Like, I was not expecting to hear step away from your job. like, like, are you crazy, God? Like, we gotta,
what is going on?
what is
This
going
isn't
on?
what I meant. Like, this
I
is
know, yeah. I'll make this work. I'll make it work. Let me go part time and let me do this. I'll figure this out. Thank
yeah.
you, but no,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
then
Yeah.
I don't really trust you that much right now. Like, whose authority are you telling me this? Like, please.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then, as
Exactly.
you mentioned earlier, you tried to do part time and you realized you were working more for less and it didn't work out. And so it's just, everything just aligned and said, hey, like, we tried to tell you this, but, you didn't listen. And, there's something else, it's scary, but there is something else,
Yeah,
so.
it is. It is. And I've gotten comfortable now, kind of, and even excited about stepping into places that I formerly would not have felt like I was qualified or belonged. And I will share this with you, and this kind of changed everything for me. The invitation is the indication of the qualification. So
Okay.
when the invitation is the indication of the qualification, that is not mine. I heard it at a woman's workshop. But a lot
Ooh.
of times when we're trying to step into new spaces and we're trying to change and we think we can't, and like I said, when you start seeking, you'll find. And people will say, oh, how about you come and do this? And you're like, but I'm not qualified and I don't have. But the fact that they ask you to do it, that's an indication that you are qualified to do it, because they see something in you that
Yeah,
qualifies you. And
I love that
so,
a lot.
yeah, isn't it wonderful? Because
That's
if we
really
stay in our
good.
heads, we won't
Mhm.
try new things and we won't step out. Because imposter syndrome
Absolutely.
is real, for real, for real. Imposter syndrome
It
is very real.
And I feel like us, like we women especially feel it a lot harder. I could be just speaking out of, my own personal experience. Maybe there's no science to back this, but I don't care. I feel like we as women just have a higher like sense of imposter syndrome than maybe our male counterparts. And that's wild to me because of course I'm biased, but some of the most talented people and brilliant people and like the most amazing people I know are all women. And it's incredible, like just to listen to their stories about how they overcame imposter syndrome or how they're still overcoming it, what they do. But the invitation is the indication of your qualification.
Yep.
I love that. That
I
is so
know.
good.
I know. I know. I
That's
just,
awesome.
if we knew who we were, that's the other thing. I don't think we know who we are. Like, if we knew, like, the
Mhm.
gifts and the powers that we have and the reason we're here, we would be a little bolder. I have two
Absolutely.
children. I had a son first and a daughter. They're like 4.5 years apart. There's a whole story behind that, y'all. 4.5 years apart. There's a story. But anyway, I thought that they wouldn't be friends, and I thought that, they're the
Oh,
opposite
no.
sex, and they're still, I mean, they get along so great and they're friends and they love each
Mhm.
other. But one thing I noticed as a parent of a boy and a girl is that men and women from the very beginning are just different.
Mhm.
Men and women are different. We think differently. Um, we just are different. There was a time where at 2 or 3 years old, my daughter was telling her brother what to do. Like, and she was right. Like, like she was right. She could think 4 steps ahead, and don't do that because you're gonna. This is gonna happen. And honestly, and I'm like seriously, I'm like, I would leave the house, and I'm like, well, Coco's in charge because
She's got
that's
it. She's got it
yeah, she's
going.
got it. And honestly, and I don't have any science to back this up. But when we start our periods, we can be mothers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I started
yeah,
my
yeah,
period at
yeah,
12. If I were sexually active, I could be somebody's mama. I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
boys don't mature. Like that frontal lobe takes a long time for that decision making. And I think by design, it has to happen for women earlier
Hmm.
because they have to take care of a child. I truly believe that looking at my daughter
That's
and
interesting. Yeah,
and to know that we have all of these skills and we can multitask and that we don't in our culture it's not celebrated and it just seems like we like you can be I don't know, you can be called names or the B word because you want to take charge and you want to bring order and you're innovative. It tampers
yeah,
that natural spirit down, and I feel like again, there's a rising up, and we're seeing more women make strides in certain places. But
yeah.
again, it's naturally in us, I believe, and I
Absolutely.
love that. I love that there's a place for it. Um, it's taken a little bit longer than I would like, but it's happening. It's
But it's
happening.
happening. And it's happening in your lifetime and in my lifetime. And so just so we're able to see it as well, I think it's really cool. That's something interesting that I learned, when I started working at Bellabeat is the superpowers that women have. And of course, we talk
Mm.
about the superpowers that come with the fluctuation of your hormones. So, certain, the rise of estrogen coming up, like you're feeling a little bit flirtier, you're feeling more energetic, like your
Yeah.
muscles are just, recovering faster. And then you have progesterone that comes in. So you're a little bit more reflective and more in tuned to yourself inward. And but these are superpowers. And I feel, and, like you were saying, it's natural within us. And I think that's just incredible. And, I will say this, I think women are the better of the species, obviously. Like, absolutely. I would die on this hill. I
I
would
didn't.
die on it.
I didn't say that, Craig Renato. I didn't say that.
Well, especially it was me. No, but but that's something I just really love about being a woman, though, is, sometimes we get a lot of crap about, oh, your hormonal, the fluctuation of your hormones. But I'm like, well, this is a superpower for me. This is something that I have tapped into and I am working with my hormones and I'm a better person because of it. And I feel like I'm more productive because of it. And I'm conserving my energy or expending my energy the exact way I need to.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
And
see you just right now, like,
I know. I'm like, it's like you were designed that way, though. You were designed that way, and
exactly.
they were designed the way they were designed. Like, and I
Exactly.
don't necessarily think it's better than. We need both. We need
Yeah, there's a
both.
balance.
There is a
Hmm.
balance, and I think that there is nothing wrong with leaning into that. And again, it's natural, innately happening within you. You don't have to go pay or get a pill, to do these things. It's just the way that you
Exactly.
were designed and created. And I love companies and organizations that are encouraging people to know about their body because I don't want to geek out, but our bodies are like an amazing machine. Like just the whole thing of pregnancy and what happens to our body, like without us even having to do anything, getting us ready to have a child, like there's nothing we have to do, really. Okay,
Yeah,
y'all, let me
yeah,
take that back. Yeah, there's some things you
yeah.
have to do, but I mean, your pelvis, your ligaments start to relax, and your pelvis starts to separate, so the baby can pass through your pelvis. Your vagina, the higher estrogen levels make your vagina a little bit more elastic. I mean, there are all these things that naturally happen.
That just happens. inside of you.
that
Exactly. Yeah.
happen inside of you. Your breasts start to make, the glands start to get bigger because of the hormones so
Mhm.
that you can make milk. Like, I just think that the body is designed in a way to take care of itself. If we just give it the
Mhm.
things that it needs, it will take care of itself. And that is physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally. And
Mhm.
so, I'll put a plug in for Bellabeat. You guys lean into those organizations that are trying to tell you about your body,
Yeah.
that are trying
To
to
help
educate
people.
you.
Yeah. And to help you listen to it more. That's a really
Mhm.
big thing here. Listen to what your body is not only telling you, but asking you,
Mhm.
and
That's good.
you can always just, once you learn how to listen and learn how to, understand what it is, some people call it female intuition, but, it's just that
Yeah.
inner self, that inner, organism, the inner workings of everything that's communicating to you. And once you know how to listen to it, it's, things do become easier. It's sort of like finding your purpose. It starts, these doors and windows and opportunities and everything just starts opening. And
Yes.
you sort of unintentionally, unconsciously seek out these things that your body are like the saying like, hey, I want this today, can we have this today, and
Yeah.
you sort of
Yeah.
naturally flow to that resolution or that desire, that need that your body has or your mind
Yes.
has. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. That's one thing that I have learned stepping away from, full-time practice, is that they didn't teach me that in medical school, Mel. Like, listening to your cycle and what your body need. Like, they didn't. And
Never.
even in residency, where I learned how to be an OBGYN and I'm learning about hormones, I'm learning about these things in the context of science and pathology.
Yeah.
And there is a nuance to that instinctual, that gut,
Yeah.
and that your body knows, right? But that's not, when you go to a doctor, you don't want them to say, well, your body knows. Like, you want a solution and you want a pill. And so I want to place value on that. So even
Mhm.
though I'm a medical doctor, there are other things that, and I know this in other types of medicine, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, they value those other intangibles a lot more than we do. And we're
Mhm.
starting to study that more and see the benefit of listening to that other and not having it all have to make sense scientifically
Mhm.
per se.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Or coming from a little package that a little something pill pops out or something. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And I love
So,
that we're embracing it. We're leaning more into it. And I believe as more and more women come into these roles where we're, especially in the medical field, it's just going to happen. And in the field of science, we're really getting in there and we can finally put our know-how and our experience and our take and our evidence into the field and say, but this has weight to it. This is something we have not been looking at, but we should now.
exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
going to happen in our lives. Yeah.
It's going to happen in our lives. It's going to happen in our lives. And, um, just to your listeners, again, it's available to everyone.
Hmm.
It's available. Like, this is not without reach. I'm special, but I'm not more special than anybody else, right? So
Right.
we're all special, and it's not like, okay, well, she can do it, but I can't. Um, I'm just here to say loud and clear that you are in the driver's seat of your health and your happiness, and that it just needs your attention. And 9 times out of 10, your body's been screaming to you, that it wants your attention. And for whatever reason, we don't listen. I mean, we don't value. But it is available. It's available. It's within reach.
And I love that. And I think that is a wonderful way to, wrap up literally everything we have been talking about and everything we said. And I think that's sort of a meditation that we should go off of. Like whenever whoever's listening to this, when you're done with it, really digest, this last bit here, because it's important. It's important, and you're in the driver's seat, and you have more control than maybe you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, awesome,
Wow.
awesome.
This was a
Wow,
great episode. Oh my
I
gosh.
love it. This is
This, I mean,
so
y'all
good.
share it. This is wonderful because, it's all of the things um that we need to hear that we don't hear sometimes. So, this is great.
And
Thank
I
you for
feel
having me.
No, thank you for talking with me and being here. And honestly, I feel like my cup has been filled a bit today, a bit more. And so
Hmm.
thank you so much for that. I appreciate that so
Yeah.
much. And I hope and I know our listeners are going to appreciate that as well, because there's a lot of golden nuggets within this, short 50 minutes that we've been chatting. Maybe a little less, but there's so much good stuff in here. And I hope people feel fulfilled as well, as much as I do.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.